Welcome to Pāḷi Nikāya study and Ondami Pandi, and have a good time, everyone, and be happy in Sutta study. We are going to study the Buddha's teaching. So we will keep our respect to the Buddha. And before we continue our teaching, I would like to introduce some words we are going to use in this class. And here we give the name the Nikāya, Pāļi Nikāya study. So we have to know the one Nikāya. So Nikāya is a collection. So here, thank you, Pandi. You translated into Chinese as well, so that our participant can easily recognize the meaning. And so here, I have introduced in the in other video clip about the Nikāya. So basically, the idea for this class is to study the Pāļi text according to our own languages. For the Pāļi language, it's not easy to understand, and even though we spent several years to understand the Pāļi and in traditional way of learning, it was not easy to be expert in Pāļi. That's why I thought that the teaching of the Buddha, although they are reserved in Pāļi language, it would be better if we study in our own languages. And maybe some difference when we make the translation, but we can learn a lot through our translated books. So we discuss with the organizer and we arrange this class, and also not only understanding what the teachings express. After understanding the teaching, and we further need to discuss so that we can use this teaching in our daily life. And Buddhism is not only devotion, is different from the other religious texts. Not only we make devotion to the tradition and the cultural affairs. We have to practice. We have to follow the instruction. So in order to be able to follow the teaching, we have to understand what is the teaching. So the teaching also very important. So many of our Buddhist followers, they devote their time and effort in recitation of the sutta. But if we closely read the sutta, and the sutta itself is the guidance to give the information how to follow. So how to follow means how to keep ourselves in proper way according to Buddha's instruction, and how to practice. So we need to read the sutta. At least we can read, we can walk around the sutta and we understand. And if we don't understand, we can discuss more and we can clarify, and then we can apply the teaching into our daily life. And we can keep ourselves living in the life according to Buddhist way of practice. So if we trying to start our learning through the text, we need to know what are the texts of the Buddhist teaching. And here I will focus on the Theravada traditional text. So according to Theravada tradition, the texts are divided into the two systems. They're divided into different collections. And there are two systems. The first system is Pitaka. We call the Pitaka and Tipitaka. So normally it is famous as a Pāḷi Pitaka, or another collection, Pāḷi Nikāya. But actually, these two systems of classification are referring to the same text. So, Pastor All here, I will just give the short introduction here, because we will continue to the past sutta. And yet the past collection is Pāḷi Pitaka. Here Pitaka is basket, but actually it refers to the collection. So, for collection of the teaching. So three parts: Vinaya Pitaka and Suttanta Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. So three Pitaka. And if we just divide it into Dhamma and Vinaya as at the end of the first Buddhist council, Venerable Ananda and the Venerables are concluded. They give the conclusion under the name of Dhamma and Vinaya. So Dhamma and Vinaya, if we use these two together, it refers to all the Buddha's teaching. And if we divide it into, according to the Pāḷi Pitaka classification, it becomes three. Then let's continue the second system. This relevance to our class. The name is Nikāya here. The five Nikāya texts. This also Nikāya also collection or making group. When here the Digha Nikāya, so we will start from the Digha Nikāya. And after that, we will continue as much as we can. The Majjhima Nikāya, Samyutta Nikāya, Anguttara Nikāya, and Khuddaka Nikāya. And these are five collections of the Buddha teaching. So in the Digha Nikāya, the long discourses, long suttas are collected in three books. Here, three books. So we will start from Digha Nikāya. And also, I would like to remind you about the way of approach here. We are going to focus on the sutta text itself mostly. And only when it is necessary, I will introduce the commentary explanation. Because if we extend with the commentary explanation and sub-commentary, then even one sutta will take many days, many classes. So it will be endless classes, so we cannot finish. So we will mainly focus on the sutta text itself. Then we will keep some information. Depends on your preference. You can keep information. And we will discuss how we can apply in our daily life. Okay, so let's see the word definition of the word. Here, Nikāya is collection, as I introduced the five collection, Pāļi Nikāya. Then the sutta. So sutta is translated as discourse, but the meaning of the sutta, original meaning is threat. Threat. If we directly translate into English, it is threat. The idea is, the threat to make garlands. If we have flowers, in order to keep in the order these flowers, we use threads. In the same way, the sutta keep the teaching in the order, in the proper order. So that's why these teachings, the collection of teachings, are called the sutta. Here, in the introduction of the Nikāya here is mentioned that the Sutta is translated as discourse, but it is not satisfactory English translation. And temporary use, or because we don't have any other choice and we use discourse, but it cannot express the fully complete meaning of the Pāḷi Sutta. Anyhow, we understand, okay, Sutta, Sutta Pitaka, or the Sutta, it will express the collection, the order of the teachings in this specific area. Okay, so we will study Buddha's teaching as expressed in the Sutta. Here, Nikāya consists of 3 books. The name Vagga comes. So Sila Khanda Vagga. So Vagga is translated as division. The first book is called Sila Khanda Vagga, and it is translated as the moralities, because here Sila is moralities or moral precept, and Khanda is group. So the collection of the teaching mostly relevant to the moral precept is called the Sila Khanda Vagga. It has 13 sutta. 13 sutta. We will start from number 1 sutta of Brahmajala Sutta. And the second division is called Mahavagga, so translated as the great division. So the word Maha is great or large or noble. So during the class, I will introduce the Pāḷi sometime like this, as I introduce the Sila is moralities or Maha is great like this. And in this way, you can pick up some Pāḷi in your own language. Although I'm speaking English and I know the interpreter will explain you in your own language. And so you can pick up the Pāḷi and translate into your own language and keep. Because later on, as the sutta is translated as discourse, but not satisfied. In the same way, sometimes when we cannot translate into our own language, we will keep that word in its original language of Pāļi. So we're better to understand some Pāļi word. And the last one, Patika Vagga. Here, the Patika Vagga, actually it should be Patika Vagga according to the Myanmar version. The Patika Vagga, we should add here H. And so altogether, we will have the 34 sutta. So Sila Khanda Vagga consists of 13 sutta, and Mahavagga, second division, consists of 10 sutta. And Patika Vagga consists of 11 sutta altogether, 34 sutta. You may think this one, second one, we call great division, but only consists of 10, only 10 sutta. How it become great? And you may think, actually, in the sutta collection, when we see this one Mahavagga, in several cases you will see the Mahavagga, the great collection or the great division. It refers to mostly the variety of the sutta, so variety of the reference collector, and not like the Sila Khanda Vagga. Here, Sila Khanda Vagga emphasizes on the sutta mostly relevance to the Sila morality. But in the Mahavagga, normally we see the different kinds of sutta collected. And also here, because it just consists of 10 sutta and it become one collection, it means the sutta are longer than the other sutta and other division. So less number mean the sutta is longer than before the others. Okay, so now you can keep the name of the sutta in your mind. The Sila Khanda Vagga, Mahavagga, and Patika Vagga we will study in the Nikāya under the collection of the long discourse. So altogether, 34 sutta. Don't worry, you may think, okay, many sutta, how we can finish? And you don't need to worry. We will just walk through and then we will pick up and discuss. The more we learn about the teaching and the more we can apply in our life, and we will think this is how meaningful. We will understand. Okay, so the first collection, Sula Khanda Vagga, the morality, has 13 sutta, and I give the list of the sutta here, and we will start here from the beginning. Brahmajala Sutta. This is translated as the supreme net. Okay, here Brahma, for Buddhist people, this and also even to the Hindu people, and this one is very familiar. A Brahma one, there's a supreme being, a kind of living beings in the higher realm of existence. Here, that's why the word Brahma refers to the meaning of supreme, and Jala. So Jala is net. So Brahma Jala, supreme net. We will know how is supreme net. And the second one is interesting. I will not introduce every sutta, but I would like to introduce second sutta. Yes, Samanya Phala Sutta, the fruits of the homeless life. This does not mean homeless life, and it does not mean in the homeless condition of some country. Actually, it refers to the samana. Samana is ascetics, translated as ascetics in English, and is left behind their home. It's not living anymore at home and going somewhere to practice. That is called samana. Although this translation is given the homeless only. Actually, not just live in the home, need to devote in any kinds of practice. This is called samana. And the fruit of the samana, being samana, is called the Samanya Phala Sutta. So very interesting sutta. And we will read. Okay, then, and altogether 13 sutta are in Sila Khanda Vagga. And second collection here have the 10 sutta, starting from the Mahabharata Sutta. There, the great discourse on the lineage. So here, lineage referring to the previous Buddha. So we refer to the Sakyamuni Buddha is in the name, his personal name is Gautama Buddha. But before that Gautama Buddha, we have we counted the 7 Buddha and 28 Buddha like this. And also if we go back to the past, we cannot count the Buddha, number of the Buddha. So here, and the history of some Buddhas, the 7 Buddhas are introduced in this sutta. Okay, so the second sutta of this division is about the dependent origination, very popular one. It is called Paticca Samuppada in Pāļi. Okay, then we will continue about this, and the third division of Paticca Vagga, also starting from the Paticca here, and the collection is given in this name because it is started by the Sutta, Paticca Sutta, so Paticca Vagga. Okay, so let's continue to today's focus on Brahmajala Sutta, the supreme net. And in this slide, I give the the short expression or the concise introduction of the Brahmajala Sutta. Here we will see the Nidana. So almost every sutta, it has the Nidana. It is introduction and the official documentation. Then I will explain more about this in there when we start in that sutta text. After that, talk on the wanderers. So here, Paripājaka Katha. Paripājaka is a kind of homeless practice. Wanderers, it is translated as wanderer. And Paripājaka, also one kind of the samana. So they also live from home and devote themselves in the practice. This is a kind of samana, so wanderers. And after that, we will learn about the short session on moralities, and middle session and last section. So we can understand in this sutta, Buddha will explain the moral precept, moral practice in different sessions. And we will not discuss all detail. So I suggested to read advance the sutta in your own language. If you didn't read, and doesn't matter, or you can follow this teaching today, and you can read according to the online. After that, Buddha will explain the 62 kinds of round view. Okay, here, this is the main focus of this sutta. And 62 kinds of round view. And here we will say round view. Why we say round or right or wrong in this case? So in this case, the Buddhist principle is very important. You have to understand the basics important teaching. The teaching is all conditioned things are impermanent. Impermanent, the word anicca. Buddhist teaching, anicca, or impermanent nature. It includes the all conditioned things. In Pāļi, it is called sabbe sankhara anicca. If you don't understand Pāļi, no problem. And all conditioned things are impermanent. This is the basics principle of the principal teaching of the Buddha. Without accepting this, or we are not accepting the teaching. Otherwise, without keeping this kind of principle teaching, sometimes we cannot understand. So just keep in mind, according to Buddhist teaching, all conditional things are impermanent. And also all things, including the conditional or unconditional, are non-self, anatta. So there's no everlasting soul or any everlasting entities in Buddhism, according to Buddhist teaching. And that's why if we talk about any view, if we establish any kinds of view or any kinds of theory, here use the theory or speculated theory, based upon the everlasting soul, everlasting substance, anything, this become wrong. Because there's, even from the beginning, there's no everlasting soul, according to Buddhism. I'm not arguing with the other religion. I'm just trying to explain the principle of the Buddhist teaching. Okay, so according to Buddhism, there is no soul, no everlasting entirety. That is why if we establish any kinds of theory or any kinds of view based upon that everlasting something, self or any substance, that view or that theory go wrong way. And all 62 views based upon this idea. That's why it's named the included under the name of round view. Okay, so we can divide it, 62 view into two groups. The first group, 18 round view related to the past, which is called the Pupanda nudity. So Pupa is previous, Anta is extreme. So connected to the previous extreme, it means the past. So if we consider when our life starts, that will be very confusing. So we cannot discuss about that. But I just want to introduce how this will come. Pupanda means the previous extreme or previous and the former age. So if we consider when our life started and then we go back, so we have how many past life and going back, then and related to that kinds of consideration is called the Pupanda. And here DT, the following to the kind of concern and taking round view, that is called the Pupanda nudity. So the speculative theory or speculative views about the past, altogether 18. And another group, Aparanta nudity. Aparanta, Anta is extreme, and then Apara is the other. So the others from the past referring to future. So 44 views thinking about the future. They are called the Aparanta nudity. So 44 different way of speculative theory about the future. So in this way, we get the 62 round view explained in the Brahmajala Sutta. After that, the other three sessions, the Buddha will make a conclusion. All these 62 round view cause for the agitation and vacillation. Then these 62 round view come from the context in this way, and Pasapachayawara. After that, the sessions or the statement of that is impossible. That is impossible. In that session, the Buddha will say, all 62 round view cannot come to A6 without contact and feeling like this. So it is said that it is impossible in this way. So the main focus is 62 round view, and we have to learn what are the round view, and we have to keep ourselves not to fall into any of these round view and keep in the right view, so that we can reach to our destination of Nibbana. So if someone wish to keep oneself in the middle way, it should not fall into any kinds of 62 round view. After that, in the conclusion, Buddha mentioned the Yaditikatika. So it will be very difficult to pronounce for yourself, it doesn't matter. So Ditthikatika, Ittana, Vattagata. Actually here, in this part, you just keep in Vattagata. So talking about the round of rebirth. Round of rebirth is Vatta. And so Buddha mentioned related to the 62 round view, that the person will be reborn in any realm or existence running around the samsara like this. And the Vivadagata is ending in the round. So the end of the round of rebirth is the liberation. Okay, so let's continue. The sutta text. Okay, sorry. Sutta text. Here the text translation come from the "Thus have I heart." This will be seen in different sutta, in many sutta. Most of the sutta starting with the "Thus have I heart" in translation, but in Pāli it is Evamme Sutta. So this is the report of the Venerable Ananda. So to make sure he has heard this sutta, and he claimed to the Sangha community at the Past Buddhist Council. So he reported by this way. Thus have I heard. Have I heard from whom? So he refers to the Buddha. I have heard this sutta from the Buddha. It means, according to Theravada tradition, this sutta is preached by the Buddha. So if we keep this text as our reliable text, and we will keep the sutta preached by the Buddha. Okay, it doesn't matter. Later on, you can approach a critical way. But here we will follow the Pāḷi Nikāya tradition. So this one, whenever we see A1 sutta, it means they are report by the Venerable Ananda and referring to the meaning he himself listened from the Buddha, the sutta. Okay, so he report about the story before all the events before the Buddha preached this Brahmajala Sutta. What happened? So let's read the story here. So one occasion, the Buddha, here Lord refers to the Buddha. The Buddha was traveling between the city Rajagaha and Nalanda. So the distance is 1 yojana in distance. Here 1 yojana. So we can easily understand 1 yojana is for 1 day trip. Now, if you travel on foot and walking, 1 day walking refers to 1 yojana. So in today's measurement, it comes in different measurements. Some scholars say 8 miles is equal to 1 yojana. Or some say more than that, 10 or 12, or some say less than that, 6 miles. So you can keep in mind that 1 day trip, 1 day walking is 1 yojana. So Rajagaha and Nalanda, how far? And you can walk from the morning and then you can reach there before sunset. And this is, I don't know the nowadays how far. And here, according to Pāḷi text expression, is 1 yojana. So Rajagaha to Nalanda, the Buddhas were traveling after Pindapata, so after lunchtime finished. And the Buddha started his trip with the 500 bhikkhu. Because the trip started after lunch, he cannot reach to the Nalanda. And also the wanderer Suppiya, he also traveling. So not directly following. He also making trip to the Nalanda from Rajagaha with his pupil. Here, the text, it says his pupil, his attendants, called the Brahmadatta, the young man Brahmadatta. But actually, in the commentary explanation, he also come with his some disciple. So with audience, he come. Then what he did along the trip is finding fault. So traveling together in 2 groups. And he was finding the fault of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It means he trying to criticize in many cases, pointing out this and that, and the Buddha is in this way, but he is not really Buddha or something like this. And Dhamma, or he taught Dhamma, but it's not true and not beneficial, not meaningful like this. And also Sangha, he criticized. So the Buddha's disciples are not practicing well, actually, like this. In this way, the wanderer Suppiya criticizing toward the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. But his pupil, his disciple, Brahmadatta, he was praising. That although the master and disciple, they don't have the same view. And different attitude toward the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It means toward the Buddhism. So the teacher, the wanderer superior, have negative view, but the disciple Brahmadatta have the positive view, and so they are talking according to their attitude. That is why, and they are expressing direct opposing arguments. So whenever Bhikkhu Bodhi translate that they are keeping the different views, so making assumption in direct contradiction to each other. So the teacher is finding fault, and the disciple is praising. So they keep their claim contradiction to each other. So in the commentary, it is mentioned that this is very remarkable. According to his own understanding of the disciple Brahmadatta, the young man, in his knowledge, for Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, they are doing well, but his teacher is present many faults, many the mistake or criticism. In this case, he need to make a choice. Should I follow to my teacher, or should I stand on my own attitude? Then he decided to keep his attitude and express praise toward the Buddhism. And in this case, in many cases, mostly in religious practice, we just trying to follow to the teacher. If our teacher said this, and we follow to that. Although we have doubt and we have another way of understanding, we're trying to apply and follow into the teacher. This is normally happen in the religious practice. But here, they also practice in their own religion, their own practice. But the Brahmadatta, the young man, he expressed his own view. Although his view is opposite to his own teacher, but he keep continuing talking this. And so in this way, they come to the place to take a rest, to take a rest, but still continuing the same action. The teacher is abusing and the disciple is praising. So in this way, in the resting place, which is called the Ambalatika Raya Park, also they are continuing. So by seeing these two different action of the different world of the teacher and disciple, and the bhikkhu start their conversation in early morning. So early morning, they wake up and they gather in the round pavilion. And they start talking about this. So their expression is how wonderful, that it is wonderful and marvelous, the Buddha's knowledge. Actually, if you read this, and you can understand their appreciation go to the Buddha's knowledge. Why? Because they refer Buddha in other occasions. Buddha talk about the different people have the different preference. And people are gathered according to their way of attitude, their way of practice, and their preference. And Buddha preached that discourses before. Then referring to that teaching, they appreciate Buddha's knowledge because they see, the teacher is in this kind, and then the disciple Brahmadatta is in this kind. And they are gathering, and they are, gathering in the same practice, but they have different view. It means, although we see in the same group, we cannot say exactly they are in the same side like this. So then they express their the teacher and disciples as action. So the Sophia is finding fault, and the Brahmadatta is praising, giving the defense to against his teacher, his own teacher. And this is the conversation happening in the round pavilion in early morning among the monks. Then, at the moment, the Buddha also hear this kind of event we will see when we study, when we read the sutta. We will see several events about this. And the monks are gathering and talking about something. At that moment, the Buddha listened, and in the right time, the Buddha come. And the Buddha come here to the round pavilion where the bhikkhu are gathering and making conversation. Then as soon as the Buddha come, and all bhikkhu keep quiet. Nobody continue their talking, and all keep silence with the respect to the Buddha. Then the Buddha start his question. So what was the subject of your conversation just now before I came here? Then because I came here and this conversation was interrupted, so you all stop. What was about that? About what is the subject you were talking about? Then this is regularly happening in many cases. Once the Buddha come and they keep quiet, and Buddha also asking them, then give the discourse or relevance to their conversation. Okay, so in this case, when they report to the Buddha, or we are talking about their different personality and different preference, and referring to the teacher and disciples' attitude toward the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. In this case, the Buddha give the teaching, instruction, give the advice to disciple. So very remarkable, very important one. Here, you should not be angry or resentful or upset when someone dispraises of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. I mean, someone criticize to the Buddhism or your own religion, whatever you are doing. And you should not be angry. You should not be angry. This usually happens if someone criticizes to our own religion. So easily get angry. At least we don't like. Okay. Then if someone praise our religion, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, or our something we are doing, we are practicing. If someone praise, and normally we praise and happy and elated, but Buddha's suggestion, Buddha's advice is not to be so, not to be doing so, and we should not be so pleased and happy or elated in this way. When we hear someone is giving their praise to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, or on the other hand, we can say our own religion. So we should keep ourselves not to get angry or not to be so pleased. And here then the Buddha give the reasoning. So why we should not get angry? We should not get angry, and we should not be so delightful. And the reason is the Buddha gave this: if you were to be angry or displeased, so when you hear dispraisement, that will be your hindrance. So the hindrance means if something make you not to let go, not letting you to be successful. That is called hindrance. So in religious practice, you are trying to develop your practice. But if you get angry, that anger and this displeasing feeling will be hindrance. that will block your practice. Now, how it happened, if here referring to me, referring to the Buddha himself. So if others dispraise or criticize to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and so as a being disciple or practitioner of the Dhamma and the member of Sangha or the follower of Buddhism, if we get angry or displeased, so we cannot recognize. So the Buddha asks, so can you recognize whether what they say is right or not? It means right or wrong. So the bhikkhus, the monks, they reply, no, Lord, it is impossible to recognize whether it is right or wrong because anger overwhelms our mind. And this is the answer of the monks. So they say, no, Lord, it is impossible to understand right or wrong, meaningful or not meaningful, beneficial or not beneficial. Under the influence of anger, with the angry mind, we cannot understand, we cannot identify correctly. So on account of praising, also the same. If we are so pleased by others praising to our own religion, we cannot make the proper decision about the right or wrong. So by giving this kind of reasoning, the Buddha continue his teaching, giving proper way of reaction toward some person criticizing or some person praising. Whatever they are doing toward our own religion, our own view, so we should keep proper way of reaction toward them. Here, if someone trying to dispraise to our own religion, so Buddha give instruction, you must explain. You must explain if they criticize by the false information, given false information, and you have to make them correct, explaining this. Oh, this is incorrect. What you are talking is not really true. We have to explain, and it is not correct. Then we have to explain, and we have to give the correct information. It is not found among us, not really happened to us. That's why, and I claim this is not correct. Then, if it is correct, we have to admit, actually. Yeah. Then, if others praise or appreciate or praise Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with the proper way of expression, with the true information, and we have to admit, so we should not keep silent all the time. And we can say, oh, the Buddha is this kind of Buddha. And so the Buddha, for example, if they say the Buddha understands Four Noble Truths and he taught to his disciple like this, well, we have to admit, well, this is correct. Our teacher, Buddha, already found the way to understand Four Noble Truths and something like this. And we have to give the confirmation, that this is correct. Because of this, we can't say this is correct like this. So this is attitude and reaction. This is very important. So if we claim ourselves as a Buddhist follower, and we should know how to keep our proper attitude when we encounter someone dispraising or the dispraising or praising, appreciation toward our own religion, and make sure that you should not be angry, and also you should not be so happy on that. Then later on, Buddha continue his teaching. So if someone, if someone trying to praise the Buddha himself, if he pick up the subject of the moral precept, oh, I will praise the Buddha by moral precept, indicating his word practice in moral precept. The Buddha say, this is just for elementary and inferior matter. Is someone trying to praise Buddha, indicating his right moral precept. Then he will explain what are the advanced or the superior methods to praise the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha like this later on. So then Buddha continue his explanation about the 62 round view. Okay, so I will give a short outline here. And here let's see the Bhuvanda nudity following to the past extreme, the 18 round view, a different way of speculative theory. And we will count here the Sasattavada, Eternalists, etc. And you can review this outline and you can read the sutta. And in this lesson, I'm just trying to introduce the outline of the sutta so that it will be helpful as a guidance when you read again the sutta. Okay, so 18 round view related to the past. The Eternalists are 4 round view related to their they proclaiming the eternity of the self and war. So some people thinking about self is existing all the time, or the war is existing all the time, and they keep their view based on this understanding. As I mentioned, that even the self itself is not really existing according to Buddhist teaching. That's why, and because of that, he is holding self like this. So, and also the war as an entity, then he is holding round view. There are 4 round view, and you will see in the sutta. And then continue the second collection of the 4 round view is partly eternalist and partly non-eternalist. So in this case, some are existing all the time, so eternalist, and some are not existing, some are changing like this. So you will see in further classification. And also here, the second one also based upon the self and war practice. Then Andananda Vada here, finite and infinite. So self is finite or self is infinite in this way. They hold the view. Then in this way, they fell into round view. Then Amaraviki this one, a doctrine of endless equivocation. Equivocation, here you should see the regards, like the kind of fish, this one, kind of fish, very difficult to catch up. In the same way, that person is trying to avoid it. So catch from the others and also catch from the wrong expression, and he trying to avoid is giving any specific statement and also the whole round view like this. Then Aditya Samuppanna Vada. This is the translation is just originationist. Sometimes not easy to understand what it means. So here, in this 2 round view, the person is thinking that everything come to appear without any specific reason or cause like this. So in this way, we have the 18 round view. After that, the other 44 round view related to the future extreme. So here, Sanyivada, Sanyi refers to the perception or the consciousness leaded by the perception. So the doctrine related to the consciousness, so the translation will be a little bit complicated because the terms are not easy to understand. So if I have to introduce this is after that, this kind of 16 round view related to the view, after death moment, the life will continue. consisting of their perception. So after this life, after that moment, the being will continue, and there will be perception in that beings. The 16 round view related to index based upon this kind of principle. Then Asaniwara 8 round view. So rejecting after this life, the life will continue, but no perception, no more perception like this. And Niwasanyi, Nasanyi, so it is clear then neither perception nor non-perception, or neither consciousness or not consciousness, but still they are thinking that the life will continue as the everlasting substance of the life. Then annihilation, this is different. Opposite to the former round view. The former round view are related to the everlasting substance continuing after this life. Also, something will continue. But in this seven round view, so he proclaimed annihilation or non-existence of being. It means that moment is the last moment of our living being. After that moment of this life, no more living. There will be no next life, and also nothing is continuing after that moment. There are 7 views related to that principle. And the other 5 views, it claims the Nibbana. So Nibbana, not only Buddhism, the other religion also talking about Nibbana is as sometimes the final destination, but their expression of Nibbana, the definition of Nibbana is different from what we do. So they proclaim Nibbana here. No, Nibbana, you cannot practice to continue in continuous practice. You don't need to practice continuously to attain Nibbana. You can find here in this life, here and now, like this, referring to the existing being in this life, or going to the Deva realms or Brahma realms like this. They were explained according to their understanding. So in this way, we can learn 44 kinds of round view related to the future extreme. Okay, so this is what the Buddha explained in the Brahmajala Sutta. So I think we can finish the Brahmajala Sutta in 2 classes. Next class week, I hope we can finish, and so that we can continue. Then we will learn in which sutta what is emphasized. So in this sutta, we can understand, although the Buddha gave some instruction and also how to react, and the mainly focus on the 62 round view. But wherever the Buddha explained the teaching, and we need to pay attention, what is the Buddha instruction, and what kind of practice and what kind of understanding should be according to Buddhism. So picking up the sutta according to the text itself, we understand this teaching comes from the Buddha himself. So if we believe on this text and we follow, this is Buddha's instruction, and we will follow and we will practice, we will apply this teaching into our life so that we can say, I am a Buddhist, we are Buddhist. And as I mentioned that Buddhism, not only devotion, not only bound down to the Buddha statue, you need to practice, you need to follow. So if we follow the Buddha's instruction, and if we try to practice according to Buddha's instruction, we can say, I'm a Buddhist follower, the follower of the Buddha. If we are not practicing or not following Buddha's instruction, although we claim ourselves as a Buddhist, it's not that meaningful as far as I understand. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention.